So let's see. We'll go through the word for drista. Drista means seen, right? Drista means to see. Vanam, many of us know what that word means. The forest. Kusumitam, full of flowers. Raka Isha, of the moon, the Lord of the presiding goddess of the full moon day. Kara means by the hand. Ranjitam, made resplendent. There's so many beautiful words here, isn't it? Jamuna, we know that, coming from the river Jamuna. Anila, by the wind. Lila, playfully. Ejat, trembling. Taru, like Kalpa Taru, right, a wish-fulfilling tree of the trees. Palava, with the leaves. Sobitam means beautified. Tat, therefore. Yata, go back. Mat, chiram, means without delay. What's that verse? Bhavami nachira parta. Very quickly, Krishna is the deliverer from the cycle of birth and death. So here, the same word, chiram, without delay. Goshtam, in the cowherd village. Sushrusadvam, you must serve. Patin, pati, right, means husband. Sati is a chaste woman. Krandanti are crying. Vatsa, we know that, many of us know that word. The calves. Bala, the children. Cha, and tan, them. Payayata, breastfeed, and duyata, fed with cow's milk. So many really beautiful words in the Sanskrit of this verse. Now Krishna speaking, now you have seen this Vrindavan forest. Anyone know who he's talking to?
The gopis.
Right, very good. Now you have seen this Vrindavan forest full of flowers and resplendent with the light of the full moon. You have seen the beauty of the trees with their leaves trembling in the gentle breeze coming from the Jamuna. So now, what? Go back to the cowherd village. Don't delay, O chaste ladies. Serve your husbands and give milk to your crying babies and calves. Yeah, it's right now that you've seen, okay, everything, it's, your job is done. Now go back. Purport is primarily translations of the commentary by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. Lord Krishna says, quote, therefore don't delay a long time before going, but go immediately. The word sati means that the gopis are loyal to their husbands. Therefore, Krishna indicates that the gopis should serve their husbands so the latter can accomplish the religious duties, and that the gopis should also be considered worshipable because of their chastity. All this Krishna says to the gopis who are married. And now to the unmarried girls, he says, the calves are crying. So see to it that they get their milk. To the Munichari gopis, he says, your babies are crying, so feed their milk. So, this is good instruction, right? This is, matter of fact, it's essential instructions if you consider the culture in which this is happening. No woman just runs out, neglecting her husband or her children, the cows, in the middle of the night to go because somebody played a flute. It's unheard of. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur further reveals the hidden meaning of these two verses as follows. In verse 21, Krishna might have said, this Vrindavan is the very best of places, and moreover, this is a full moon night. Furthermore, we have the Yamuna on all sides, and there are cool, gentle, fragrant breezes blowing. These are all transcendental opulences that stimulate loving exchanges. And since I am also here as the foremost ecstatic opulence, the object of love, let us now test how much expertise you can show in relishing rasas. And in text 22, thus for a long time, for the entire duration of this night, don't leave, but rather stay here and enjoy with me. So he's saying, the opposite, but Prabhupada sometimes taught, the Vedas sometimes do this, like Rupa Goswami's, don't go to the Jamuna. Don't go to Jamuna, the banks of the Jamuna, because you may see Krishna there. And if you do that, it's very similar to this. You're going to lose all your interest in society, friendship, and love. So don't go to the Jamuna. And obviously what he's really saying is go. So don't go serve your husbands and the gentlewomen, your mothers-in-law, and so forth. It would not be fitting for you to waste such beauty and youth, which are the gifts of the Creator. Nor should you milk the cows or give milk to the calves and babies. What you do, what do you, sorry, dyslexic there. What do you, who are so full of ecstatic attraction for me, have to do with these affairs? And Vishwanath Thakur also explains that the gopis could not really be sure exactly what Krishna was doing, whether he was merely joking, inviting them to stay, or instructing them to return home. Thus, as Sri Krishna spoke about the beauty of the forest, the gopis felt embarrassed and bewildered and looked upward at the trees. And as he spoke about the Yamuna, they looked all around at the river. And this next sentence is the essence of what we're going to talk about today. There were so many different things to talk about, but I just focus on this one word here, simplicity. Their absolute purity and simplicity, along with their absolute devotion to Lord Krishna in the conjugal mood, created the most beautiful pastimes ever exhibited in this universe. So let's talk about simplicity. It's a very interesting term, and it can be seen as a negative and also as the most positive. So we're going to roll up our sleeves and get simplicity a little bit. I bet you woke up this morning not thinking you were going to hear about simplicity, but nevertheless. So the dictionary definition talks about it first in that kind of negative sense, right? A lack of subtlety or penetration, naivete, folly, silliness. So let's talk about that definition first, the negative parts of simplicity. And I know we have Brahmatirtha Prabhu sometimes speak here at the Bhakti Center. And this is, he had, many of you know, he had the discussion in 1971 with Srila Prabhupada that led to the book Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. So here, at this time, Bob Cohen, he says, what about the innocent people? And so here Prabhupada talks about simplicity in the negative, kind of the negative sense. Prabhupada says, the animals is very innocent. If you cut its throat, it won't protest. So innocence is not a very good qualification. The animal, all innocent. Therefore, you get the chance to cut their throats. So to become innocent is not a very good qualification. Our proposition is that one must be very, very intelligent, and then he can understand Krishna. To become an innocent, ignorant simpleton is not a very good qualification. Then he says, simplicity is all right, but one should not be unintelligent. So in this sense, naivete, folly, lack of subtlety, that has its challenges. We know Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, there's only two categories of people in this world. The cheaters and the cheated. And of course, the cheated are in bigger numbers. It's a tough world out there. Maybe some of you, maybe a few of you might be remember Cat Stevens. He had this song, "It's a Wild World Out There." He has this one line: "Just remember, there's a lot of bad, and beware." He got it right. This world is full of people who want to exploit, want to take advantage, and being, simplicity in this sense can get us in a lot of trouble, right? And therefore, and there's a lot of quasi-spiritualists or pseudo-spiritualists and people who maybe spiritualists who get it partially right. Just like if you listen to a Mayavadi speak, the first part of their speech is probably going to be like totally Bhagavad Gita. We're not this body, we're spirit, soul. This world is not meant for enjoyment. right? They get it right. So there's all kinds of stuff out there that can allure us in different ways, philosophically, spiritually, and let's speak of materially. And there's a lot of bad, and beware. Cat Stevens was right. And Prabhupada talks about this in terms of doubt. And this is in the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam. He says that doubt is one of the important functions of the intelligence. Blind acceptance of something does not give evidence of intelligence. Therefore, the word samshaya means doubt, is very important. In order to cultivate intelligence, one should be doubtful in the beginning. So that's a sign of, And many of you are New Yorkers, and therefore your samshaya is big time. Right? But then Prabhupada says, but doubting is not very favorable when information is received from the proper source. So he's giving us a little hint of simplicity in a positive sense, which we'll get to in a few minutes. And then he says in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that the doubting the words of the authority is a cause of destruction. So we want to be philosophically strong so that we can actually practice a favorable kind of simplicity, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, if you studied Hegel in school, he has thesis, antithesis, synthesis, right? So the thesis in this sense might just be, I'm kind of a simpleton. I accept what you say. And the antithesis might be, the doubting Thomas, as it were, and the strong intelligence. And the synthesis is Bhakti Vedanta, right? Vedanta, knowledge, strong intellect, and simplicity of heart towards Krishna, Bhakti. So we actually want to be philosophically strong in one sense so that we can actually practice the right kind of simplicity. So another definition of simplicity from the dictionary, the state of being simple, uncomplicated or uncompounded, free from pretense or guile. And I was thinking about this in terms of being strong in bhakti. And we know that in the, I think it's the 6th chapter of the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami talks about, Prabhupada translates Rupa Goswami's talking about the 3 levels of taking up bhakti. And the highest one is when we're strong in knowledge of the Shastra and strong in faith. And the second one is when not so strong in knowledge, but strong in faith. And then the third one, here's what Prabhupada writes about the third one. He says, thus these two, they are superior to the third class who have neither perfect knowledge of the scriptures nor good faith. And then here's the word, but by association and simplicity, they are trying to follow. The third class person may fall down, the first and second fall down. So here, simplicity, it's kind of seen as, kind of positive, but not that great, right? That, okay, by association, simplicity, we may take up to bhakti. And so it's, better than nothing in one sense, but really, to really have the adhikar, the eligibility for bhakti, we should be strong philosophically and strong in faith. So where to go next? So I was listening to Bhakti Begyan Maharaj recently, and he was talking about the 9 stages of bhakti, Ado, Shraddha, Tata, Sadhu, Sangha, Bhajana, Kriya, etc. And he was sometimes the idea of Prema Pumarta Mahan, love of God, it seems so far away. And it's not such an inspiring goal. So he said that what the Madhurya Kadamini talks about is, so let's say for us on this call, let's just make the assumption some of you are very, very advanced And so I don't, but many of us here are on the level of anartha nivritti. We're trying to clear the heart of unwanted things. And so the next level of that is nishta, or steadiness. And then the one after that is ruchi, or taste. And so Maharaj was saying that whatever level we're on, we aim for the next level, and goal is ruchi, like that. So nishta means this kind of strong faith, steadiness, not uncertainty. In I think it's the fourth canto, Prabhupada talks about this. He says that for Krishna and his representatives, there's no question of the theory of uncertainty. He was talking earlier in the purport about, many people speculate about the absolute truth or the origins of the universe, and they don't, new information comes and they change again, so it's very uncertain. He says, what Krishna says is all perfect and certain and is applicable to past, present, and future. Nor is there any uncertainty for one who knows exactly what Krishna says. So we want that nishta, that strong, that absence of uncertainty in our lives, right? Whereas Prabhupada writes in the Gita, faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. Okay, so then we go on to another level of simplicity, which isn't exactly where we want to get to. We're going to get in a couple of minutes, but it's going in that direction. Their definition is directness of expression, clarity. And in the 13th chapter of the Gita, simplicity is listed as one of the 20 good qualities in the Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada talks also about how one should be very simple and straightforward in our dealings. He writes, this simplicity of acceptance of the Lord's authority is more effective than showy, insincere religious fervor. So that especially in the the sangha of devotees, we want this kind of simplicity, simple, straightforward. We might use current terms like vulnerable, right? If you can listen to Brene Brown, the guru of vulnerability, and there's a lot of I was in Italy recently at the Wisdom of the Sages retreat, and Jiva G was there doing Bhakti Recovery Group, and I attended 3 of those. And there's a lot of encouragement to be vulnerable, because it's anonymous and confidential, and so those are qualities that really do help our bhakti. That idea of simplicity, straightforward, honesty, etc. But now I want to get to what I really wanted to talk about, and I plan to leave time for questions. And so the dictionary definition goes on to say the state of being simple, uncomplicated, and uncompounded. And Prabhupada translates arjavam, which means simplicity, sometimes as freedom from mental duplicity. And so we're assuming that we have some strong faith, we have some certainty about Krishna in our lives, and then we apply that to our bhakti, what we might use the term simplicity. Our minds are filled with so many things during the day, with gadgetry and cell phones, and we're at work sometimes, and we have to figure out so many things, and everyone's trying to sell us this and that, and there's just so much going on in our mind. And to actually kind of break through the covering of kind of bhakti, yeah, I at my rounds, yeah, I should go to the Bhagavatam class, and pierce that covering and really come closer to Krishna. We want to practice that simplicity of bhakti, that when we're chanting, think, oh, this is my chance to be with Krishna. I'm so lucky. This is my opportunity to be with Krishna. There's that beautiful small book by Mahatma Prabhu, Japa Affirmations. I recommend it. You can also, if you don't have the book, you can read it online. Just Google Mahatma Das and Japa Affirmations. And he has all these beautiful just mindset affirmations to get us in the right, you could say, simplicity of heart. Because that's what it requires when we're approaching Krishna. Look at the gopis. Right? It's not that they're simpletons, they're absorbed in Krishna. When talking about Nanda Maharaj and when he came and saw, was dead and what happened, the Prabhupada writes, Nanda Maharaj could not understand how the inhabitants of the house had Putana to enter the house, nor could he imagine the gravity of the situation. He did not understand that Krishna wanted to kill Putana and that his pastime was performed by Yogamaya. Nanda Maharaj simply thought that entered his house and created havoc. This was Nanda Maharaj's simplicity. So it's not that he was a fool, not that he was just this, innocent kind of, or that the gopis were just, no, they weren't simple, they were just absorbed in Krishna. They had gone way past studying the Bhagavad Gita, and way past, they're Ragatmika devotees, eternal. And so we want to, with strong faith and all that knowledge of Krishna and knowing the Bhagavad Gita and all that, and then that allows us, in one sense, to have that simple-heartedness when we're chanting, Krishna, I'm yours. Please accept me. Haridas Thakur, please empower me to chant. You're the Acharya for the Holy Name, please. And getting into that mood of a beggar or a child calling out for, right? That's simplicity, a child calling out for its mother. And when we're hearing, sometimes we can, because our chanting, okay, 16 rounds, got to do it, or whatever our commitment is. And our body, I've heard that pastime 4 times already. I know that pastime. I know, Krishna broke the grinding stone, and the 2 people came out of the tree. But when we can pierce that lack of simplicity in the mind and just say, oh, I get to hear about Krishna. The Bhagavatam is unlimited. Sanatana Goswami says that every syllable rains pure bhakti. I don't have that realization, but let me approach it in that sense. Then somehow the Bhagavatam can open up unlimitedly, practically unlimitedly, because it's Krishna himself. Right? So if we can approach the hearing with that simplicity, the worshiping of Krishna with that simplicity, that really is when we make rapid advancement in Krishna consciousness. And we can apply that also to our ego, right? Because there's 8,400,000 different ways, at least that many, ways of not identifying as Krishna's servant. And the simplicity of just, I'm Krishna's servant. And trying to remember that as much as we can throughout the day, and then act on that. We all have the experience of our mind giving us trouble. The mind just protects the false ego. It's the false ego that's really the problem. It's the strongest of all the material elements, because it's so strong that it convinces us who are completely spiritual that we're completely material. That's how strong it is. And so the more we can work on identifying as Krishna, that's simplicity. I'm Krishna's servant. And then we try to apply that in our lives as we can. That simplicity of heart. And then everything falls in line. Our mind becomes more peaceful. I was just reading 80% of people's thoughts in this world are negative. 80%. Yeah, that's not very, I guess it's good for my job. It gives me job security because I deal with conflicts all day, but it's not very good for the world. So identifying as Krishna's service and having a servant, and having that simplicity of heart can do wonders. So simplicity, yes, it's a spectrum. It can have, if we apply it in the wrong way, it could have some negative effects on us, and we could even be taken advantage of. But then as we attain and it's kind of like in my work, I talk assuming good intentions, but I definitely want to apply that to our association of devotees. But we also have to be like a little careful, right? Because some people don't have good intentions. We generally, that's why I say generally is intention. So that's the middle part of the spectrum. But on the far end of simplicity is just that open-heartedness to Krishna and Krishna's devotees. So what questions, comments, thoughts do you have?
Vraj Vihari Prabhu. Thank you so much. This was a wonderful class. I just wanted to appreciate how you talked about simplicity, but you weren't just saying that be simple but not too simple. You were talking about Krishna and his devotees. You were talking about chanting. You were talking about Nanda Maharaj. So you talked about simplicity, but you really talked about bhakti. And so I just wanted to appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for remembering what I said, because I can't remember what I said 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, you didn't answer the profound question that I asked in the beginning.
What was that?
Das
What was
or
the
dasa?
profound question?
Yeah, das or dasa. What's the proper?
Dasa. As long as we act as either of those, we're good. How does that sound?
Okay.
Gail always has good questions. Actually, really hard questions usually.
No, this one will be a simple question.
Good. We're talking about simplicity.
Yeah, that's why I use that word. You brought up the pastime of, I think you brought up the pastime of Putana, where, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda and the Brajbasis, they misunderstood who Putana or Putana's intentions. And it's not that they were simpletons, it's because they were absorbed in Krishna. So, there did seem, though, to be an element of naivete in their misunderstanding of Putana. So it really wasn't clear to me, saying that they were absorbed in Krishna didn't really make it clear for me what the distinction between being simple and being a simpleton really was. Because of that element of naivete where they just took her at face value, which is what simpletons do.
Well, and of course, in this case, as I believe was in the short Prabhupada quote, they were covered by Yoga Maya. We would love to be covered by Yoga Maya in that way. It is, I brought it up because the gopis could be, because they were they were upset when Krishna said, "Go back home," but it actually increased their love, and that's actually the point in all the pastimes, including that one of Putana, and that's what a devotee also a nice a devotee. Burijan Prabhu once gave Prabhupada a ring. And it said gold ring. It said Jai ISKCON, because there at that time there had been some disturbances, so he gave Prabhupada that ring. So he was in the room with Prabhupada, and I think it was I can't remember if it was Hari Sari or Shruti Kirti was massaging Prabhupada, and they noticed the ring, and they said, "Prabhupada, you have a new ring," and he said, "Who gave you that ring?" So Prabhupada could have said, "Oh, it was Burijan. He's right there." Instead, he looked up at Burijan Prabhu and he told Hari Sari, he said, "Oh, someone." So that intimacy of loving exchange, that little like personal, right? It really brought out Burijan Prabhu's affection and love, right? So, what's that?
Because he kept it a little like secret.
Yes, it was their secret. Or the very end of Prabhupada's pastimes with us, when he desired to go to Govardhan on a bullock cart, and do prikrama on a bullock cart. And it caused this uproar amongst devotees. Some saying he's a spiritual master, you have to do what he says. This is Krishna speaking to us, and others saying he's going to die doing that. There's no way. And in both, Prabhupada was just bringing out their love for him. So Krishna and Krishna's great devotees, they bring out that love in us. And so similarly here, I won't get into all the details of the Putana passing, which I'm not a great expert, but ultimately all of those things are done even the way Yogamaya may cover, it's all loving pastimes. But the point about Nanda Maharaj and the gopis and their reactions is that prema. It's just that intense love, and therefore they have what's called raga, it's strongest attachment, and they are ragatmika devotees, and we would aspire to be raganuga, to try to understand that rag and in the footsteps of that rag, and that's our goal. So it could come off as simpleton, but that is a simpleton-ish way of understanding.
So therefore, the way you would distinguish simpleton and simple is whether there exists the presence of prema. Seems like that's the only.
Well, yes, in the absolute world, yes, not in this world. Simpletons get, they send money to a Nigerian prince because they got an email from him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I was focused on on the spiritual world.
Okay,
actually.
good.
Again, because of that presence of apparent naivete. It makes them look like.
And let's look. I'm sorry.
It makes them look like simpletons. So that's why it was just a little fuzzy. But I think you're saying that even though that naivete is there, it's whether the prema factor is there or not that makes it.
That's a nice way to look at it. And look at Prabhupada, the pastime in Kobe, when I won't tell the whole pastime, but he was at an event with a Mayavadi sannyasi, and Prabhupada spoke first, and then the Mayavadi spoke early, and the Mayavadi was speaking in Hindi. And Prabhupada just chanted his japa for about minutes, and then the devotees didn't know Hindi, and then Prabhupada looked at the devotees and just said, "Stop him!" And so right in the middle of this person speaking, Prabhupada said, "Have a kirtan." So he you could say rudely, although we wouldn't say it, but interrupted it and just started a kirtan. Nobody in the audience knew what was going on. But later, when Prabhupada was at his apartment with the devotees, and the devotees asked what happened, and devotee was just like, Prabhupada was just so peaceful. So you could say, he just said, he was basically, I'm paraphrasing, he said the first 20 minutes he was speaking all right, you're not this body, etc. But then he started insulting Krishna. And he said, I could not tolerate. So probably a lion on the and a lamb at home. So a lion, just defeating false arguments, etc. But then a lamb with the devotees, simple-hearted, and just being, or like when he played his harmonium and just sang for his Lord.
Yeah, and I just one last thing I would say is that with simpletons, I think we can say there's a lack of intelligence, whereas with Brajvasis, it's not that they don't have the intelligence, just that the intelligence is covered for the sake of Leela.
Okay, you'd say that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still just trying to figure it out.
Apply it to our life. Our life, we want to be strong philosophically. We want to, like you all are hearing this class every day, and read Prabhupada's books, and what I'm trying to say here is that strength can allow us to have that more simple, pure heart when we're doing certain devotional activities, like chanting things. And we don't have to be all up here. We can really give our whole heart to Krishna because we have that firm conviction. And even you could say intellectual satisfaction that helps us open our heart to this simple practice of bhakti.
Right. Yeah, that's nice, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gail. Let's see, any other questions? Yes, childlike but not childish. I like that, Andrea. That's something that Rukmini says, Rukmini Devi. Just looking at the comments here a little bit. Oh, Jeffrey has a question in the chat. Where is that question in the chat? Someone texted me. Is it this one? I love the idea of simplicity being applied to our external expression and communication. Uncomplicated and duplicitous. A transparent honesty of self vis-a-vis the world and God. That's not a question. Maybe there was a question earlier. Oh, so is this why we must take shelter of a spiritual master? Because once we have gotten over our doubt and identified a bona fide source of information, then we can simply accept the truth of which they are already aware. Yes, that doesn't mean we are allowed to question the spiritual master and clear our doubts. But what did Prabhupada write in chapter 4, verse 34 of the Gita? Absurd inquiry should be blind acceptance and absurd inquiry are both rejected here. So blind acceptance is rejected, and kind of dumb, but spiritual master, one of their services is to clear our doubts. So it's again that vulnerability of you ever been in a Bhagavatam class and you say you really have a question, but you think, oh, this is a really dumb question. Generally, it's a really good question, and 10 other people in the class have the same question, but they're also afraid to say it.
So the line that we walk there is between blind acceptance and absurd inquiry. And so in that dance that we would have with our spiritual master or our bona fide source, as long as we have a legitimate doubt that we're struggling with, no matter how we judge it in our own mind, we should let that come to the surface.
Yeah. And of course, it's spiritual masters, right? We have Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Gurun Vaishnavam. So it might not be our initiated spiritual master we ask questions to, it may be others that we have trust. Trust is a big word. We could go into a whole talk about trust, but not in the next 3 minutes. But right, what was that quote from the Bhagavad Gita that he said? Faith. What is it? Faith, something sublime. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. So yeah, we really want to come to that level of really nishta, firm faith. It's such a relief because our mind comes up with so many acrobatic doubts.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. I'm just seeing, did I miss anything else in the, thank you, Andrea, for putting the japa affirmations. And then for each one of them in the book, I don't know if it's online also, he has a little short explanation, which is just very inspiring.
I think Adi Prabhu keeps.
Yes. Oh, yes. Adi Pushpa. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had your hand up.
Wonderful class. Thank you so much. Well, you made that distinction. Everybody commented about simplicity. On one hand, might mean somebody dull, or simplicity might mean a laser-like focus. simply this, simply focusing on Krishna. And just
Very nice.
on that point is the spiritual master has that quality. It's simplicity and sense of a laser-like focus, free from duplicity. And our response to that is we trust that person. We see that innocence. We see there's no hidden agenda. There's some curveball coming at us when we're not expecting it. That he's you get what you pay for. You see what did they used to say that what you see is what you get.
Yes, that's right.
He's going to be honest with you in a childlike, innocent way. And our response to that is then we open our heart because we see that person sincerely wants to care for us. I love you for you, not I love you for what I get from you. And that's the nature of the spiritual world. That's the nature of devotees. And it's the quality that's so much absent in the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, that people are saying one thing and they don't mean it, or they don't do what they say, right? So,
And you pick up on it, right? What you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying.
yeah. It's very refreshing to remember
Yes.
that's available, and that's our normal nature as a loving being, to be straightforward. We don't have
Yes. It's like Adi Prushtas. What you see is what you get. Just a devotee of Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, we see that in you. We see that in your class. We just sit here and bask in that sincere, honest, straightforward presentation. There's no motivation for, self-aggrandizement. Very nice. Well, glory to Prabhupada.
Well, thank you. And I'm very grateful to Vihari Prabhu to asking me to speak here. So thank you very much, Prabhus. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuve Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vraj Vihari Prabhu. Wonderful class. Thanks everyone for participating. It's darshan time, right? Adipurusha Prabhu. How far are we from being seen by the Lord?
It is time. They need a few minutes, I think.
A few minutes. Okay.
Just 1 minute.
So let's just keep glorifying Krishna.
How wonderful is Krishna?
Okay. Yeah, I was biking here, and I was listening to Wisdom of the Sages, and they had such an Anand Maharaj on the show. Let me mute that because there's all kinds of noise. Okay. So they were having His Holiness Sachinandan Swami on the show, and he was emphasizing how important it is to have friends in bhakti, to have people who are like-minded, people with whom we can share intimately. So I was thinking, yeah, I'm so fortunate to have that in the form of this daily Srimad Bhagavatam class. All my friends are tuning in, and we're all like-minded. I'm a little simple. There's no way I can be like-minded with somebody like Jeffrey Eckler, who's a big-time thinker. But yeah, it's so nice. If you have a friend in bhakti, you're set for life. And that's how Krishna expresses his love, by sending a nice friend, or maybe 2 or 3 friends in bhakti. So
I have a poem for you, Prabhu.
Oh, yeah, let's go. Go for it.
This is St. Francis of Assisi. Joy is the great cleanser, and it is the greatest testimony to our faith. Toil with happiness, my Lord once said to me. God sent a servant on an errand through a dangerous part of the world. The servant, having received in hand what God wanted delivered, turned to the holy and said, "My beloved master, do you have a final instruction?" And God replied, "A kind face is a precious gift." I'm glad to see all your kind faces each morning.
Yeah, keep it simple. Keep your camera on. What do you have to hide? I'm joking. I'm joking.
Avatam Samaditam Sundarangam Kandarpako Kamaniya Vishesha Sobham Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govinda Adipurusham
Adi's embrace. I feel pressed to Adi's loving chest. All right. Okay. Wonderful class, right? He wasn't just talking about psychology being simple or this or that. He was talking about Krishna. This is how a Vaishnava addresses the subject of psychology. He talks about bhakti, service. Being simple means being a servant of Krishna. That's it. Okay. All right. Have a wonderful day. Come again tomorrow. It's nice seeing you. Thank you for smiling, for waving, for pressing us to your chest, to your screen. Those of you who are at work, think of Krishna. Fake it. I'm going to take a short. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Very